What do you do when that pesky thing known as the Constitution gets in the way of your unlawful plans?
You just work around it.
Viva Frei, Montreal litigator turned YouTuber, and this is Winnie the Westie who sees something outside. What's your deal? And we have an update today in Joe Biden's
declared mandate
to compel vaccination of upwards of 100 million Americans. CNN Politics. Biden announces new vaccine mandates that could cover 100 million Americans. Now, the real news story here is not that Joe Biden did in fact issue this mandate. We all knew it was coming. He is just following in the same footsteps as leaders across the world.
We're not a country that makes vaccination mandatory.
I believe that vaccines should be mandatory for travel on planes and trains.
The real story here is in how he issued this mandate. It has not even been a thorny question of constitutional law that the federal government does not necessarily even have the power, the authority to issue a nationwide mandate, but lo and behold, Joe Biden doesn't care about that pesky thing called the Constitution. And so how did he issue this nationwide mandate to compel vaccination in upwards of 100 million workers? He relies on the OSHA, which is the Occupational Safety Hazards Administration.
What?
The Occupational Safety and Health Administration. Spoiler alert, by all accounts on the left and the right, the basis upon which Joe Biden issued this mandate will be declared unconstitutional. It is a question of when and not if. And it would seem that the Biden administration itself is very well aware of that fact, but they just don't care. But now we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let's just see how exactly Joe Biden issued this mandate. President Biden announced proposed rules that would force private sector employers with more than 100 workers to either require them to be fully vaccinated or mandate that they undergo weekly tests. Biden referred to the mandate as a, quote, new action plan, end quote. The rules would be enforced by the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, OSHA. Businesses that do not comply would face fines up to $14,000 per offense, an administration official told the Associated Press. The mandate is expected to affect as many as 100 million Americans. Joe Biden issues an arguably but not so arguably unconstitutional measure, and then he empowers a federal administrative body with the enforcement of the rules. But what exactly is OSHA? The Occupational Safety and Health Administration, OSHA, is a large regulatory agency of the United States Department of Labor that originally had federal visitorial powers to inspect and examine workplaces. Congress established the agency under the Occupational Safety and Health Act, OSH Act, which President Richard M. Nixon signed into law on December 29, 1970. OSHA's mission is to, quote, assure safe and healthy working conditions for working men and women by setting and enforcing standards and by providing training, outreach, education, and assistance, end quote. The agency is also charged with enforcing a variety of whistleblower statutes and regulations. OSHA's workplace safety inspections have been shown to reduce injury rates and injury costs without adverse effects to employment, sales, credit ratings, or firm survival. The only problem, it's totally unconstitutional, and the Biden administration knows as much. The OSHA does not have this power any more than the CDC had the power to declare a moratorium on evictions. And when I say that the Biden administration knows as much, it is not hyperbole, it is not exaggeration, it is not mind reading. They admitted as much. The headline from the article I was just reading from: White House's Ron Klain panned for retweeting post on, quote, ultimate workaround, end quote, for federal vaccine mandate. Ronald Klain, the White House chief of staff, faced criticism on social media Thursday after he retweeted a post that seemed to praise the Biden administration for pulling off the, quote, ultimate workaround, end quote, for a national COVID-19 vaccine requirement. And what was the tweet heard round the world that confirmed the Biden administration willfully violating the Constitution in the ultimate workaround? It was Ronald Klain retweeting Stephanie Ruhle's tweet, which reads as follows: OSHA doing this vax mandate as an emergency workplace safety rule is the ultimate workaround for the federal government to require vaccinations.
The ultimate workaround.
To which Ted Cruz tweeted as follows, because Ted Cruz
is not going to let his enemy's mistake go to waste.
Ted Cruz, important, foolish RT. That's a retweet for those of you who don't know, from WH, White House Chief of Staff. He said the quiet part out loud. Biden admin knows it's likely illegal, like the eviction moratorium, but they don't care. But in order to present both sides of this coin and to steelman the argument in as much as possible, there is something of a thin argument to be made justifying the lawfulness of this measure under OSHA, and the New York Times raises that argument. The New York Times pointed out that OSHA is is tasked with overseeing workplace safety and has the authority to, quote, quickly issue a rule known as an emergency temporary standard if it can show that workers are exposed to a grave danger and that the rule is necessary to address that danger. The rule must also be feasible for employers to enforce, end quote. That is the argument. They have to show that there is a grave danger and the rule is feasible for employers to enforce, and prediction, not just me, but according to many, is that no, this is not going to be declared to be lawful. But don't take my word for it because I'm a know-nothing Canadian. Don't take Ted Cruz's word for it because he is a partisan Republican. Don't take Fox News' word for it because it's fake news. Let's listen to Jonathan Turley, who can hardly be called right-wing. Yeah, I forgot to mention, for those of you who may not know, you may recall Jonathan Turley from such previous vlogs as the impeachment hearings, because Jonathan Turley was the constitutional expert for Team Trump, which is why he got in the bad books of the left media, according to some. All right, back to the vlog. From Jonathan Turley's blog, admission against interest. White House Chief of Staff admits vaccine mandate is a, quote, workaround, end quote, the constitutional objections. In the law, it is called an admission against interest or an out-of-court statement by a party that, when uttered, is against the party's pecuniary, proprietary, or penal interests. In politics, it is called just dumb. White House Chief of Staff Ronald Klain offered a doozy this week when he admitted that the announced use of the authority of the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, OSHA, for a vaccine mandate was a mere, quote, workaround, end quote, of the constitutional limit imposed on the federal government. The problem is that the thing being, quote, worked around, end quote, is the Constitution. Courts will now be asked to ignore the admission and uphold a self-admitted evasion of constitutional protections. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is probably why Jonathan Turley is persona non grata among the left at this point in time. And just a little more information on why the workaround was necessary in the first place, Jonathan Turley writes as follows. The, quote, workaround, end quote, was needed because, as some of us have previously during both the Trump and Biden administration, the federal government does not have clear authority to impose public health mandates. Authority for such mandates has traditionally been recognized within state authority. Make no mistake about it, this is a clever move to use the OSHA as the vehicle for the mandate to avoid the federalism issues of a direct mandate. President Joe Biden has been ping-ponging on the issue for over a year, in first suggesting that he could impose a national mandate and then admitting that he probably could not. Ironically, the move comes on the same day that Attorney General Merrick Garland denounced the, quote, clever, end quote, use of the Texas abortion law to make it more difficult to challenge. Judging from the praise for Garland, it appears that such workarounds are noble when done for the right cause. Jonathan Turley looks upon this move quite unfavorably, to say the least, not just because it is most likely patently unconstitutional, but because it is just going to be added to the long list of Biden losses before the courts. The move is unnecessary and therefore reckless. There are already challenges to the law which the Justice Department could join as amicus. It would then not have to risk the creation of additional losses in court after the impressive litany of losses of the Biden administration. This was another filing that followed a public call from the president. It is again politics driving litigation by the Justice Department. The media covered such pressure extensively during the Trump administration, and legal experts objected that the Trump White House was attacking the independence of the Justice Department and other agencies. There is little attention to his pattern that extends from immigration to debt relief to the eviction moratorium. So that is the breakdown. By all accounts, it looks to be patently unconstitutional. It's just going to be a matter of time before the courts declare as much. It's going to be added to a long list of losses for the Biden administration, but at last you can't blame someone for trying, can you? No, you can. You
Can blame them for trying.
The Constitution exists for a reason, and when our elected officials stop respecting the supremacy of the Constitution, it is a big, big problem, and that is as much true for the United States as it is for Canada. So we will see where this goes. By all accounts, it's pretty obvious. We will be discussing this with Robert Barnes this Sunday night during our live stream, and if you like my videos, you like my content, please be sure to like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and drop a comment in the comment section below because it feeds the algorithm. If you want to support the channel, all of these support links are in the pinned comment. Robert Barnes and I do weekly streams every Sunday. We do weekly streams with a guest every Wednesday called The Sidebar. If you want to find us and support us on Locals, you can find us at
VivaBarnesLaw.locals.com.
All of my content is also on Rumble, but more important than anything, take care of yourselves, check in on friends and family, make sure everyone around you is doing well, and now you know your vlog. Peace out.